the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
AVWeek is produced and distributed through a partnership with AVNation and Rave Publications. For more information, go to ravepubs.com/AVNation. This is AVWeek, episode 37, recorded Friday, April 13th, 2012. 5.8 trillion won.
Ready.
AV Week.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AV Week. AV Week. It's time for AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. I'm your host, Tim Albright. Thank you so much for joining us. With us this week is George Tucker. He is, of course, the engineering coordinator of World Stage. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Glad to hear you guys.
Also with us again is Steve Greenblatt. Steve is the president and founder of Control Concepts. How are you, brother?
Great. How are you?
Doing
Thanks
well.
for having me.
Doing well. This week we're going to talk about the FCC with limits, and that makes me go, yay, because the FCC is the devil. And my name is George Tucker. FCC is the devil. Google Goggles, which is just something kind of cool. The Extron, the big guys that have stopped going to trade shows are going to be at NAB. So they stopped going to trade shows. And we're also going to talk about Samsung and an incredible financial year that they had. But first, we're going to talk about a couple companies who haven't had such a good year. Who do we start with first? George, who do you want to go with, Sony or Best Buy? Because they're kind of in the same marriage, a weird, polygamy marriage when it comes to consumer electronics here. Let's start with Sony because I like, converting the yen to dollars.
That's so great. You said you were me, so go right ahead.
Yeah. Sony has a record 520 billion yen loss. For those of you keeping score at home, a yen is about 1.2 cents. And I don't want you to get out your calculator because a lot of you are driving while you're listening to this, and that would cause a wreck, and I would feel bad. You're looking at roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of about $6.4 billion. Damn. They also laid off 10,000 people, but that was because they lost 520 billion yen. George, we've talked about these guys in the last 6 months an awful lot, and it's not any of it been good. At least I don't remember any of it being good, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic there or pessimistic, but we really kind of talked about how this once great giant and this once great company is kind of been they've become a caricature of themselves, where they've had this many losses in a row or this many misses in a row. Are they on the ropes? Is this kind of like, the last great death throes of Sony?
There's suspicion in my heart that that's what's happening here, is that they're sort of trying to find a way to cast off what they know they can't sell and then try to sell off some stuff. It's true. I mean, Sony has been really an example of how not to do business, it seems. My biggest impression going over some of the stuff, and I found a blog post or a blog about, the failures of Sony, and they listed out this litany of stuff. And there was some defense of it saying, well, a big company like this developing, they're bound to have these, but they made such investments in some of this stuff. And really what they were trying to do is force the market to come to them rather than giving the market what they wanted. And I think it's finally caught up with them. I'm almost bored to talk about Sony anymore because they really are just from the PlayStation network being hacked twice, 3 times, twice not telling anyone about it, to their failures in their MP3 players. I mean, this is something Sony should have been able to excel at. It should dominate it. Even if it was Apple dominant, they should be like neck and neck with Apple, for goodness sakes. They own the media. They own movie studios. They own record studios or recording studios and artists associations. How can they not succeed? Someone's really just let this go. They just put it out the pasture and said, okay, it's done.
Okay, let me play the devil's advocate for a second there. They've given us what they wanted in the past, and we gobbled it up. I mean, they're the ones who said, let's create this portable music called a Walkman. Nobody ever thought of that before. Nobody ever said, hey, I'd like to walk around with my music before. They gave us that, not consumers over here saying, hey, I'd like that.
Well, I think that's one of those projects. I may be wrong, but I believe that's one of those projects that the upper echelon of Sony said absolutely not, and someone did it in secret, and they went, "Whoa, that's cool! It's selling. Look at that." It's sort of like the Volkswagen Bug coming out again the second time. Didn't they do that in secret for a little while?
Yeah.
And this may be an example of a corporation really starting to say, "Well, that's okay. You got away with it before, and it was a success. Thank you very much. But now we're really locking you down," and they may have just killed the golden goose in a way. It really does amaze me where they've just the breadth and depth of idiocy to really be blunt has left me saying, I don't really look at them anymore for anything.
Steve, is this should we mourn this? I mean, should we, besides, let's take, I don't want to take all the fact that 10,000 people lost their jobs. That's never a good thing. But on the industry, let's say the 10,000 foot view of this, should we be mourning the loss or the struggles that Sony has, or should we say, okay, you know what, we're in a market driven economy. They've made some really boneheaded decisions. This is the results of that.
Well, I'm sure that they've done a lot over the years to really set the standard, and they've always been the name and the big guy. But it's I think that strategy doesn't work anymore. You have to change with the times, and I think that they seem to have stopped innovating. And I think especially in bad economic times, the most expensive isn't necessarily going to be the best choice.
That's for sure. And that was one thing that Sony had, wasn't it? Is they were the marquee. They were the premium. The other day, we do a daily show with Gary Kay from Rave Publications, the guys who host our content. It's called The Daily Rave. It comes out usually on a daily basis. Sometimes not so much, but most of the time on a daily basis. And we were talking about this very thing. Sony has an entire line of, let's call it premium grade commercial gear. I want to say it was called the ES series, right? I had never heard of this. Most people have never heard of this because Sony deems it too elite for the masses. And it's just kind of that attitude, right? Where this is our stuff, this is how much it costs, and if you can't afford it or you don't, find out about it, well, that's fine because we're Sony. Apple can still get away with that. I don't know that Sony can anymore.
But is really Apple pricing themselves out of the market? I think that they do have market sensitivity, and they are staying competitive with I guess PCs or alternatives to their products. But I agree with what you're saying.
No, that's valid though. You're right, because you're right. Apple isn't so far out of the range. You're right. Yeah. They're in the higher end, but they're still, you're right, within market limits. On my rundown sheet, I have Sony's in trouble and Best Buy's in trouble. So that's the next place we'll go.
Well, one more point with
yes,
Sony too. Can you look at them and parallel them to Research in Motion with the BlackBerry?
Oh yeah.
I mean, BlackBerry was the top dog for quite some time, and I just think that they stopped innovating.
Well, and I think some of that also, I mean, you took a look at the playbook, and nothing against the playbook. It was a good effort. It just wasn't what the market wanted. And I think back to George's point, some companies, that's what they need. That's what they need their business model to be. Some guys can be Steve Jobs and not do market research and say, this is what I'm going to make, and people are going to follow me and buy what I make. Other guys and other companies just need to, this is what the market says it wants. And maybe that's where Sony is now, finally, after, however many years. All right.
Either that, or they need to come out with something revolutionary again, like the Walkman.
Yeah.
And create the demand, and then they can price it as they please, as long as they have the demand.
Okay, but to that, there are some guys that work there, and this is a couple buddies of Gary Case, who said about once a year, actually he said in April every year, they have a reorganization, and you're never in the same job for more than a year. That's a corporate culture thing, where you're never in the same position for more than a year. There's no longevity there. There's no long-term thinking there. Because if you're going to be, Steve, this year you're going to be our touch panel design guy, and George, this year you're going to be our coding guy. But in 12 months, you're going to switch. Where does that leave you? Because then all you're doing is you're putting your nose to the grindstone. You're putting your nose down. There's some productivity there. I'll give them that. But you know what? Steve, when you go to Infocom this year, you don't care what the freaking next generation of touch panels are going to be. And George, you couldn't give a rat's whatever what the next processor is going to be, because you're going to be doing something else next year.
Well, I mean, there's a point to be made. There's a point to be made that says you would understand more about what your associate or related in engineering, departments are doing. Therefore, you can all work tighter because you understand the processes or something. But at some point, it has to stop, and you say, this person's really good at that. We can't lose them for this. I don't understand that rotation thing.
No, I don't either. And again, some of that's a cultural thing, too.
I was going to say, is it a Japanese thing?
Yeah, and that's good.
Could that be something that's holding them back?
It hasn't stopped them yet. And that's the thing. That's the weird thing is, and maybe that's what I'm trying to wrap my brain around is what happened. What happened to my Walkman and my Beta Deck guys, and my mini disc guys. I think I'm not going to bemoan a dead technology, but I thought that was a freaking awesome piece of machinery. But that's my old radio.
At the very end of it, it was a really good machine. The beginning mini discs sucked. But near the end, I mean, even the guy Steven St. Croix from Mix Magazine, the pro audio magazine, started to sing its praises.
I would take issue that it sucked in the beginning. I thought that thing freaking awesome, even in the beginning. Even in the beginning.
I'm not a golden ear, but it squashed things.
All right, it did. But the fact that I could edit on the same, sorry, I'm not going to get into it, but it was a great thing for radio. You're talking to an old radio guy, so that thing right there was like one of the before MP3 recorders. That thing was golden. Okay, that was the era that I came in. All right, so let's talk about Best Buy. A couple weeks ago, they announced that they were closing 50 stores, 50 of their big box stores. And then they said, kind of in the same breath, but we're going to open these kind of little boutiques, right? We're going to focus on more, fewer products and this, that, and the other. Well, this week, a couple different things happened. They lost their CEO and their CFO. They rejected the company they're suggesting or advising their investors to reject a tender offer from TRC Capital. What? I mean, Steve, is this kind of what is Best Buy reaping some of its own seeds? Because they came in and one of the stories says, I should say this, one of the stories said Best Buy has said that internet sales have kind of decimated Best Buy. I mean, people will go in and shop at Best Buy and then go online and buy it at Amazon. So they're kind of doing to Amazon, and the internet is kind of doing to Best Buy what Best Buy did to integrators who, people like our buddy, Matt Scott up in London, Ontario, would go, pitch a system, and they'd see this 50-inch plasma for, let's say, $3,000 because it was a commercial version and this, that, and the other, and then go to Best Buy and buy it for $1,000. So are they reaping some of that, or is this just kind of, business, the cyclicalness of business in the last results or the last effects of the down economy?
I think that we're seeing a lot of companies and industries moving from products to services. So I could see where that makes a lot of sense. And I personally still think that there's a need to have stores and there's a need to be able to walk in and see something and have it hands-on. Just something I actually heard on the radio earlier this week is that the way stores are counteracting some of this internet pressure is that they're going to be offering coupons for people who are actually in the store at that time.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was an interesting idea. Maybe it's you have to check in or something of that nature, but at least they're understanding and they're trying to offset this pressure. Best Buy actually has a website and an online presence, but it's just not that good, I don't think. And I don't know if people are truly price shopping or they're just not finding what they want on their online store. But another way to look at it too is the idea of having just good customer service, a good return policy, and I kind of think that Best Buy may be taking their eye off the ball a bit.
Yeah. George, what's going on with Best Buy? I mean, in your estimation, besides the CEO going bye-bye?
Well, the CEO, by the way, is going bye-bye because it just came out a few hours ago that he resigned because of some internal investigation about inappropriate activities. Read into that what you will.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
A CEO
That never happens.
No, it doesn't.
No, never happens. That being said, I'm going to pick up on what Steve was saying, though, is like my experience in Best Buys have never, and I mean never, been positive.
Really?
I have never found a staff person who knew what they were talking about. And I want to be clear here. You know, we in the professional integration side can mock all we want, the big box retail employees who get minimal training, if any. But this was just, I've had horrible customer service. I actually went into the Magnolia store within a store once, and I was seriously looking to buy some stuff. All right, this is, and I was like, all right, I want to upgrade. I want to go in and I want to get somebody to do my system, and I don't have enough to do a custom installation, but I might be able to do this. I went into three. I want you to count 3 independent Best Buys in the Westchester area, each with a Magnolia store in it. I was only asked for if I needed help once. The other 2, no one even showed up. There was nobody there. The third time, the guy asked me only after I was there for about 45 minutes, looking at the stuff and fiddling with the knobs.
Yeah, but so, you shouldn't have worn your World Stage shirt.
Yeah, no, okay. we have those, by the way. You can buy them online.
Really?
But yeah, well, soon. Not yet. Get your pre-order in now.
Could I get one just to
for you? Of course.
And yet a quad X.
They're in black. We don't have purple, by the way.
Oh, black's perfect.
Anyway, or lavender. What color was it?
Oh, be quiet. Keep going.
But here's my problem with Best Buy, and it's with what a lot of the other stores have a problem with. Like, I won't go into a PC Richards, which is a local here on the East Coast. Audio
Thank you
video.
for clarifying that, because I had never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Fry's are on the West Coast mostly, and PC Richards is this sort of local New York thing.
Okay.
And they used to be really good, but nowadays, whenever I walk into one, which is now probably ages since I've gone, is that you were assaulted by salespeople. Can I help? Can I help? Can I help? Can I help? I said no once. I'll ask you when I want help.
Okay, so wait a minute, though.
You get this either overeager, commission-driven sales guys who are rabid to get you to buy something from them, or at least have their boss look like they're actually doing something. And then you got misinformation and lack of knowledge, and then just laissez-faire, lackadaisical. Like, nobody's in a Magnolia store? Okay. Nobody?
So which would you rather have, though, George? Because you're complaining about both extremes.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do you want? You want like this perfect utopian middle?
Hey. Well, yes. Because and this is important. There is the initial contact of, can I help you? Not yet. I'm not sure what I'm looking for. If you need help, let us know. But most of these stores' policies is don't let the client out the door without selling something. They, cash must leave their wallet. And you know what? When you don't know what you're talking about, or you're overly aggressive and trying to push something on me, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to buy. Or if I did buy, I'm going to regret it the minute I walk out the door. And I think this is a lot of what's been happening. I mean, I loved Best Buy for the reason that I could go and I could go online. They have it in the store. Good, I go pick it up. Done. I'm in, I'm out. I don't even have to talk to anybody except for the guy at the counter that takes my money. That's it.
And
But it just became a pain.
But isn't some of that though the nature of us guys in the industry who, you know what, I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a Blu-ray player that a commercial grade one, but I'll do my research and figure out which consumer grade one is the best one for me, and I'll go and buy it.
Yeah, but people do that anyway with the reviews online. I mean, they can be gamed a little bit, but that's really what they're doing, because I got to tell you what, the people who are rating the stuff on Amazon know a darn sight more than the sales clerks in the audio division or the video department of Best Buy.
Yeah, that is true. And
it's just true. And again, customer service, you're mocking me about the middle of the road, but there's a certain level of giving me the respect to tell you when I want something, and then being there when I want and getting it right. Yeah. And if you're not going to do those, then what point is it? I mean, I might as well go into a bakery and say, yes, I'll have the cheesecake and I get a loaf of bread.
But see, that's what I do. That's weird. That is what I do.
Fantastic bread. I must insist, it's fantastic bread.
Steve, is this we've talked about before? Best Buy. At one point, we talked about. I don't know that it's a fair conversation now, but about Best Buy selling things that would compete with, control system people and just getting more and more into the residential type stuff. Does that kind of put a hamper on this? Does this whole downsizing almost of Best Buy kind of put them into a boutique type stuff, a boutique store, as it were?
What I think it could end up doing, because I think that really the Geek Squad is what's holding things and maybe where their future is at. It could actually make them more custom and move them away from the boxes, and actually it could have a greater impact on our industry, honestly, if they start to provide a lot more services and provide the customized approach and the hand-holding and the relationship building that we provide as professionals in our industry. If they try to take that approach as in these smaller stores, maybe we're going to see them creeping into our domain. I'm not sure.
Oh, so you're saying that this drawback is more to do an AVI SPL-ish type thing, where they've got the offices, and all they have to do is train their guys and create and provide more services than actual just boxes.
Yeah, I think that everybody's realizing that the boxes are not where the profit is.
No, they're not. We did a story a day, I think today actually. Epson just released a 3,000 lumen projector for around $500. So yeah, there's your box.
Wow.
I mean, you could also take the tact of is it John? I always get his name wrong. Cicada. John Cicada writes. He's on Twitter. He often writes though about how he gets
cicada. That's a singer.
Cicada. It's cicada. Whatever.
Tomato.
What do you want from me? But he was often tweeting though about often writing about how like Best Buy just got him a new job because some client walked in and got totally frustrated.
And didn't he call him or tweet him from
tweet him
Best
saying,
Buy?
I need your help. Come, let me come to your office and buy something now.
Yeah.
So they're not doing themselves any favors still.
It could be they provide the marketing, they get people interested, and then we make the sales.
There you go. See the service industry they want to be is the middleman thing, the redirection trick, right?
John Cicada is the new member of the Geek Squad. Sorry,
a mole.
There was a nice
Chuck.
program.
You know what? I'm sorry. Every time I think of the Geek Squad, I think of Chuck. So
there you go.
CNBC had a nice program on Best Buy where they talked a lot about the Geek Squad and so forth, and just what that's done for the company. It's probably a little outdated now, given the recent turn of events, but that's really what they were talking about is just moving into that realm and how that's kept them in the game.
All right. Well, let's turn the page here and talk about a positive company and somebody who is making money. Samsung, this is from the New York Times. Samsung Electronics, the world's top technology company. Again, that's the Times saying that, not me. By revenue, posted record quarterly operating profit of $5.8 trillion. one on booming sales of its Galaxy smartphones and on the Note. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Basically, Samsung's profit between January and March, and I guess the 5.8 trillion won is the equivalent of $5.1 billion. I just like saying 5 trillion, won. It just sounds better.
You have your pinky next to your mouth.
I do. $5 trillion. All right, let's not mince words here. Samsung is kind of they're becoming a player in a whole lot of different areas, including our backyard. When Extron stepped away from Infocom as one of the platinum sponsors, Samsung is the company that came in. They've got a lot of stuff going on, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to slow them down for the time being. George, is this this is good news for us? I'm guessing, and I'm asking you, is this good news? As one of the major players in the AV industry, Samsung. It's a good thing, right, that they made $5 billion last quarter?
Yeah, I don't see why not. First of all, I was shocked. And I know that sounds almost sarcastic, but I was shocked that they actually made that much money. It is a good thing. Although, if you look at some of the article, a bit of that money comes from selling stuff to Apple. So they're selling displays and screens and stuff to Apple, it appears. So they're making a good penny of their profit off of that. So is that really stepping in our backyard? Not so much.
No, but their coffers are being filled with $5 billion. And a lot of guys in our industry are in other industries. We talked about Panasonic and that whole Sanyo deal, and that went through a couple weeks ago. And that was more about car batteries, electric car batteries, than it was about displays. So, but still, the money is there, and they're still, that money will find its way to our industry some way, shape, or form. Yes. Through research and development, through marketing, through new products.
One would think. I mean, again, they're saying the Galaxy Note is selling like crazy, and I'm getting shocked by that.
I was too.
Right, they're tablets. I'm sorry, of Note. The what is it called? It's the Galaxy smartphone. Sorry, are actually selling, and those little 10-inch tablets that nobody believes in seem to be taking off. That's where it's going to affect our business, right? Just like with the Steve, just like what the iPad did. I mean, this may be the next sort of tertiary level of our installations, where they may not want an iPad for their touchscreen, but these Galaxies might just fit the bill for a lower valued installation.
Yeah, Steve, that's kind of what your wheelhouse is: control systems and touch panels and stuff. Is that something you see? Is having to integrate stuff like Android things from Samsung and the mobile devices?
Every job. Every job it's asked for right now. I'm not saying that every job is getting them, but every job it's in the conversation, and sometimes they lead with it, sometimes they come back later and ask for it, but it's definitely there, and more than ever, and everything from the user interface, the ease of use, to why can't I replace this touch panel that costs me so much more and does so much less with this cool, slick device that I love? And it's more and more.
I don't think that we've had you on, Steve, since we talked with Randy Klein from Crestron. I kind of asked him the same question. I said, "Is this going to eat into basically does the mobile stuff eat into I think the list price on a TPS 6X is about $3,000-ish, and that round numbers there." And he said no. He said that he has a Crestron system at his house. I was shocked at that, and he made the comment. He said, "Yeah, who knew?" I figured it was an Aurora control system in his house. And
I'd like to get a picture of that.
He said, before I get in trouble, let me finish this. He said, he's sitting in bed at night reading his iPad, and he said, I want to turn off the lights, or I want to do this and then the other. He goes, that's what that's good for. He goes, I don't want to have to, fire up my iPad to, change the channel or, reduce the volume of the TV I'm watching. He goes, for stuff like that, that's what touch panels are for. They're one-use devices. Yes, the mobile stuff is great. Yes, the mobile stuff is cool. But it's just one more piece of the arsenal. What would you say to that?
I definitely respect where he's coming from, and my take on it is that it's important to have backups, and it's important, and I think that when you have a complete Crestron solution, and that's, I know, one of the things that Randy discussed, having their touch panel and having their processor, they're guaranteed to work together. And now when you're dealing with a mobile device, you're introducing more variables into the picture. You're introducing the app that has to run, the connection between the device and the processor. Although I think it's very cool, and I think that there are different ways that you can look at it. There are uses for both. I don't want to take the easy way out in the answer, but personally, I really think the mobile devices are going to need to be considered in the picture a lot more than they have been.
Yeah, and I would agree with that.
The only problem with those things, and like you were sort of talking about when Randy was talking about it, was, excuse me, was that supporting that from a tech support sector really does become really difficult. What is their OS that they're in? What version of it? What model do they have? What age is it? And all these things that you have to then step back, try to figure that out first, because that's going to be the more convoluted. But you don't really have a solution to it. You can't say, "Oh, we have the firmware for that updates the the iPhone or the iPad to fix it." So it's a great convenience, but it really does, when you're out of the ecosystem, become problematic when something goes amiss.
Oh, just blame the end user. And
another thing that we can look at too, is that eControl has been around for a long time. We've been able to use web-based control for these systems far before the mobile devices or smartphones were on the scene, and that really never replaced the touch panel. So if that's any indication, that you could have had a cool tablet or some alternative, a cheaper alternative to control your system with a web page, and people were still putting in touch panels. And I think the web pages are underutilized personally. That we can do more things, and we can use it as an alternative point of control. And I don't think that it's really achieved its potential. But if that would be another way of looking at possibly the impact that the mobile device has, and the fact that the touch panel still remained as the central point and the tried and true reliable device.
No, and that's actually a very good point, Stevie, because you're right. We've had it be where we could put it on web pages and serve them up and put little icons and little direct connects on our desktop. And you're right, they haven't gone away. Because whether it's in the classroom or the boardroom, people just want they want a centralized control, where they can walk in and what happens if I forget my iPad, so, or my iPhone or whatever. So,
or if the app gets updated or upgraded on you and you lose connectivity, which unfortunately happened recently.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about trade shows, shall we? This next week in Las Vegas, Nevada, the National Association of Broadcasters show will unveil and descend upon the wonderful people of Las Vegas. Actually, the exhibit's the 16th through the 19th of this next week. And I know a lot of guys who go to NAB. I've never been. I wish, one year I do intend on making it out there because I think it's a good show. It's a big show. About a month or so ago, Extron Electronics, a premium sponsor of the Infocom show, released a statement saying that, we're going to focus on our training, our local offices. We're going to kind of pull back from Infocom and from IES for the time being. We're not going to go to any trade shows. We're just going to focus on our local training, and I guess also technically the NAB show, which isn't really a trade show, mind you. It's more of a gathering. It's kind of a training. I'm being sarcastic here. It's a frickin' trade show, and I'll preface all this by saying I like Extron. I like their products. I have a lot of friends that work at Extron, but something doesn't smell right here. And this is where this little journalist in the back of my brain lives going, okay, this does not add, 1 + 1 does not add up to 2. I'm going to give my 2 cents. You guys can comment if you would like, or you can recuse yourself if you'd like, without any jabs from me at least. Andrew Edwards is a nice gentleman. I've had lunch with him at the Anaheim office before when I went out there for training. Very nice guy, smart guy. He's done a lot of good things in this industry. But I don't know what's going on here, but something is. When you make a really, not a show, but you make the point of writing a very nice letter and a very nice press release saying, we're going to focus on this and we're going to focus on this, and we're not, and because of this, we're not going to go to any trade shows, at least the biggest one in our industry. But he said, we're not going to do trade shows. And then turn around and go to a trade show. That just doesn't add up. And I have no inside information. I have nothing but my gut. But something doesn't add up. And that's my own little rant. But yes, Extron will be at the NAB show starting April 16th. So if you're going and you would like to see Extron at a trade show, don't go to Infocom, go to NAB. That's it.
Yeah, to quote Shakespeare, something is rotten in the stead of Denmark.
It's not in Denmark, it's in Vegas.
Yeah, well, it lost wages.
The press release was pretty clear in saying that they're not doing Infocom and IES, right? But they didn't say anything about the other shows.
I know, but wasn't it? Okay, maybe it wasn't implied, but I implied it maybe.
No, but I think the way that the letter was written, it was the implication that you were led to come to your own conclusion was trade shows aren't really doing it for us. Therefore, we're going this route because we think it's far more bang for the buck for what we want to do. Yes, he didn't say specifically NEB. He didn't call out CES. He didn't call out EHX. But I don't know, man. Something makes me feel like I don't want to say I took my ball home. I'm feeling like maybe somebody said that court's not yours. I don't know. Something strange.
Yeah. Maybe somebody complained about Thunderstruck last year, which was the opening act of their party.
Well, here's the deal. If it is that, and if there is something else going on politically or something happening, to not say it in a way that doesn't sound like you're being whining, but still say, here's the deal, guys. We're not happy with this, so we think we have a better route now because of this situation. If that comes out and it's true, you're going to do more damage to your PR and to your marketing than you would positive by just trying to cover it up. Oh, you are, because here's the thing. You have Extron, let's say Extron, has a lot of rabid fans. As many rabid Crestron guys as there are as many rabid Extron guys, and there's as many rabid AMX guys, and I'm not trying to single anybody out, but they have a lot of rabid fans. There are guys who are dyed-in-the-wool Extron guys, and they won't really touch anything else. And I think if there was something weird or something where they didn't like something or whatever, you sick the Extron army on whoever it was. And I think that would, it would at least endear you to your camp and endear you to the people who do think of your company so well and are ardent fans. I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that part, because I think if there was something weird and it was something where they weren't happy, dude, this is 2012. You've got an entire social network of people who follow you and would follow you to the ends of the earth, and they'd get on every social network that they had access to trumpet your cause. So, yeah.
Well, what is their presence in NAB? I'm not an attendee of that show, and Infocom, obviously, they were one of the big sponsors and had the big presence, the big party, and so forth.
Well, that's a valid thing, Steve, because you're right. It's just a booth. I mean, it's not like they're a platinum sponsor. But that's something I said when this came out from Andrew Edwards, that they were stepping away altogether. I said, don't step away altogether. If you don't want to do the party, fine, don't do the party. You know, I get it. It's a lot of money. You know, if you don't want to do the huge booth, don't do the huge booth. If you don't want to be a platinum sponsor, fine, don't do that. But at least come to the show. You know, at least show your wares. At least, you know, interact with the 30,000 or so people that are going to be there. That, you know what, a lot of them would planned their trips around coming to see you and meeting face to face with the people they talked to on the phone all year. And that's why even at the time I said, you know, there's something weird here. And now there's something weird even more. I mean, this just kind of adds credence to that. And again, I don't have any inside information. I don't know anything other than the fact that something, you know, like George says, something doesn't smell right here in Denmark or Denver or wherever it was.
Sure, I definitely agree. I as I know, they are going to have people at the show for whatever reasons, but obviously, you know, without a booth, maybe they have something else in mind.
Picketing? I don't know. Sorry.
Extron occupies Infocom.
That would be awesome. We had Tim Schnabel on this show a couple weeks ago, and you know what? I said this without even thinking after we had him on because we was trying to hook up with him, and I said something to the effect of, Tim Schnabel is one of the education guys from Extron. I said, okay, you know, I know you're going to be busy the week of Infocom, but do you have some time, you know, to get together? And it was like this dead silence with crickets in the background. And it took me a second to realize, oh yeah, you're not going. And it really wasn't on purpose at all, I swear. So, all right. From our buddies over at Rave Publications, ATMEL, and I'm going to assume that's Atmel. Is debuting a flexible touch display. If you want to buy stock on the company, by the way, it's NASDAQ symbol ATML. But they're not really well known. They are sending out beta samples of what they're calling XSense. It's a highly flexible film-based touch sensor. So, Steve, you have a flexible touch screen. Do you have any applications for this at all, or is this kind of something, not a gimmick, but kind of something neat that you can do, but there's not any real practical applications to it?
Well, I think if we use our imagination, it could be very cool, but we haven't seen anything like it yet, and so therefore I can't really say I have ideas in mind, but I was thinking about how just the fact that it bends and being able to contour it, which is part of what's discussed in the article, and just the slickness of it and how it's going to have this sleek design. The first thing that came to mind was, again, we're going to see more pressure on the control manufacturers to come out with cooler devices, or maybe they're going to purchase these screens or this component from this company, and maybe this is what we're going to see in the future.
That would be really cool. Yeah, somebody like AMX or Extron or Crestron doing something like this. George, is there a good real world use for this? I've seen it a couple times where, you know, professors have pushed their fist through different touch panels. So that would be one use case. You know, you have a very angry physics professor, let's say, and he's put his fist through more than one touch panel. You could put that in there.
That would be very fun. That would almost be like a comic book.
Yeah.
You know, actually, I'm going to call it here at the end of our year-end show. I called OLED. It's going to be the year of the OLED, and if they come out with this, all right, I'm not quite there, but I'm going to call it a near miss. This could change things a lot.
Yeah.
If it can be, and it's durable, and it's not like glass-jawed, fragile. Hey, put it around a column. You don't need to put it on the wall. You can put it around the column, and two people can use it at once. If it's got multi-touch, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. Now, their sort of promotional video reminds me of how inappropriate you can market something, just like Twitter did when they came out. They had no idea what they wanted to do with it, so they put out this video that didn't quite make sense. And if you watch the video, people, when you're listening, it's I don't know what they were doing there. But I like this a lot because you don't have to carry everything. And you know what? You could be like Woody Woodpecker when he gets in trouble and he takes the house and closes the shutters, and everything goes down to one little box and throws in the ocean. I like it a lot. I'm gonna call it, and I think that this has lots of potential for that kind of stuff.
Well, let's move from that on to the next story about multi-touch. Steve sent us this story, how multi-touch can save your life. Dun, dun, dun. It's a floor that will detect if you have a heart attack. Not that any of us are of the age that we need to worry about that at all. At least according to my doctor, I just need to lose weight and eat more wheat germ. So, it's basically what it is. It's from IBM, which I'm not shocked at that in any way, shape, or form. And it's a multi-touch display. And this thing, Georgia, we've talked about this before, where putting an RF device in your pocket and having the home automation system detect how fast you're walking will determine, and using that information to turn on various types of lights. If you're walking really fast, well, it's only going to light up the floor lights. If you stopped for a second, it will illuminate the entire room. This would do something similar to that, yes? In addition to the heart attack.
Yeah, one would think so. I think, but I'm kind of creeped out about the biometrics stuff. Like you can tell if you're having a heart attack or something. I don't know about it. It seems intrusive, I mean, what else will it know I'm doing eventually? Does it really need to know that I was, cleaning my ear out or something? I mean, I'm afraid of it more than I am intrigued by it. I really, I have my doubts about it.
Steve, you're the one that kind of picked up on this. Is this a cool thing? Is this something we can start integrating into a Crestron system or an Extron system?
I'm not sure how it's going to impact AV, but I think it's very cool.
Yes.
The idea, as far as detecting the heart attack, is they're if they all of a sudden see a body lying on the floor, that's when for a certain amount of time, if they detect that surface area, I guess, then they notify security or notify the emergency services, and that's the approach that it's taking. But I don't know. I think it has some cool ideas, and it can be used instead of some motion sensors to be able to maybe detect occupancy or for security, or to maybe light pathways, as we were discussing.
Yeah, those parts I like, but it does freak me out. I don't know. Just that what my current blood pressure is would really scare me.
You know what, George? If you have nothing to hide, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to hide. So
you get it first, then.
All right, you're listening to AV Week with George Tucker and also Steve Greenblatt from Control Concepts. This is an article that makes me happy because the FCC is the devil. From CNET, Republicans are looking at slapping some limits on FCC authority, basically saying that they need to post some things before they take votes on it, and also limit how the FCC conducts wireless spectrum auctions, which is kind of why I'm talking about this. There have been a lot of hoo-ha about the wireless spectrum. Actually, one of our regular contributors, Michael Drainer, did a special on white spaces with our friends over at Sennheiser. If you check out the website AVNation, or actually ravepubs.com/AVNation, you'll find it. Yeah, George, this is something that I wish would have been put into place about 5 years ago. But is it? I think it's a good thing that it's a good thing now. Or is it one of those things where the horse and the cow have already left the barn, and now they're trying to shut the door?
Well, I have a love-hate with the FCC. I think there's certain things that they do very well. Colin Powell's son, notwithstanding, his tenure I was not very happy with. But this doesn't seem to read right to me. If they said they would implement what they're talking about when we were in the aforementioned white spaces, I don't think the FCC would have taken the time to step back and actually look at the white spaces thing again. It would have pushed it through, said, what's the highest amount of money we can get for the spectrum? That's what we do. That dominates all. Goodbye.
Yeah.
If they had done that as they're stating in this article, the white spaces and our industry, or at least the live entertainment industry, utilizing some form of wireless microphone intercom and systems would be gone. So I don't know what they were deciding to do. I mean, I get the shot clock. Hey, make a decision. You have a certain amount of time, make a decision. But they were doing that in the white spaces scenario until finally the industry chimed up enough and loud enough, read lobbyists, who basically got their attention finally and said, you got to stop. Yep. So I'm on the fence here about the stuff. Look, when the FCC goes after the broadcast networks because some Yahoo on an award show let something slip that they didn't have a 7-second delay on, come on, guys. It's at 9 o'clock at night. Stop it. It wasn't like they did it on Nickelodeon. But this, I'm not. Yeah.
Steve, is this a good thing, or is it kind of that's fine. They can pass another law.
Yeah, I really, unfortunately, don't have a strong opinion about it. To me, I feel like regulations are always limiting.
But that actually, as simplistic as that sounds, is profound. And you're right; they're very limiting. Darn government! All right, this is something.
Libertarians,
huh?
Libertarians.
You know what? I'm not going to get into a libertarian fight with you Ranger fan.
Hey, look, at least we won.
Okay. There it is.
I wasn't going to pull it out, but you drew first blood there, man.
my poor Blues could not pull off a win. So, it's something that Gary actually introduced me to this week on the Daily Rave that I went almost ballistic over. This is so freaking cool. Chief introduces the industry first program for custom preloaded AV racks. Now, this is not only for guys like me who work in education, but every small mom and pop AV house. If you're a heavy end user, this thing is freaking huge. They've had the Brack Builder program where basically it's a piece of software where you can go on Chief's website and lay out your rack, and they'll help you determine from heat load and how things should be stacked. Well, they've kind of upped the ante here, and now they have something called Chief Rack Systems Rack Builder Delivered. So basically, you send your gear to Chief, and they rack your gear for free. George, am I just a crazy end user, or is this as much of a game changer as I think it is?
I haven't been able to look at it too much. This is one of the articles I didn't get a chance to read totally, but it depends on the partnerships.
Okay. If
I can get what I want, and from what I see of it, it looks like a lot of it is stuff they're already affiliated with, so they can say, well, I don't have XYZ, but this does the same thing. And that's not a discredit to the product that they would want to put in. But there is a certain amount of brand identity that might be prohibitive here. I mean, a lot of what we do in marketing or even in this industry is tied to that brand. This is a Crestron system. This is an Extron system. This is a so-and-so. And we sort of have a loyal following for that. This could be their attempt to do that, but it all depends on what I can do. Now, did I understand? Did I hear you? There's a 48-hour turnaround. Did I hear that right?
Did I say that?
Wasn't that on the original Daily podcast? What's the turnaround time on this? Is it a couple of days, a week? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
That's something
else. And it's not in the article either. So I don't know that we actually talked about that. You're confusing another press release that came out this week.
Oh, maybe it's possible. There's so many.
Crestron released a 48-hour turnaround time on their RMAs.
It could be that, but still. So again, it depends. How long is that going to happen? In my world nowadays, we probably wouldn't go for it. That is the live state, that staging stuff, because we have our preset racks. We're doing our stuff. They're not going to have partnerships with the Pandoras and Datatons and the Kuluxes of the world. But Steve, I'll put it to you. I'll throw the ball over to your court. Would this be a benefit to you? Would you even consider it?
It doesn't really impact me so much, but I think it's really going to be a big impact on integrators. Honestly, I think that for some, it's going to help them tremendously because they were not going to have to employ as many people, and for some, it may take away people's jobs. My take on it is that it's great. It's very innovative. It's another example of having value add. So you're not just selling a product, you're selling a product and a service. I thought it was very cool. What they're helping to do is streamline the whole process of being able to build your system and get it out the door, and have things done. Make your life easier as either an end user who's buying it or an integrator.
My question comes down to what happens if one piece breaks? Do they just replace it? And if you start to get popular and you sell lots of these, what does that do, one, to your lead time and to the profit ratio? Yeah. Is it scalable for them and they can do 100 or 10,000? Or is there some breaking point where that just doesn't work anymore? And I'm not sure where that is, because then I could see people like AMX and Crestron and Control4 actually doing, if this takes off, hey, we need to do something similar. But then you're employing more people at the factory to do this, and then you're sending out field techs when things don't work, and then you've got your expenses of, we all know that none of these manufactured products all work out of the box in the field immediate the day they're out of the, you get them. Mm-hmm. So sometimes issues. So what happens there? Do you just sit and wait till the firmware update comes up, or are they going to spend the money to send techs out, fly all over the place, and stay at Motel 6s? What happens there? And there's some inherent dangers in that.
I don't know that they're responsible for the system, though, or any of the wiring. It just looks like they're responsible for delivering to you a populated rack ready to be wired. I think that was my understanding.
I think, one of the things I think it's not in the article, but we talked about with Gary was that they can wire it for you.
Oh, wow.
But, Gary, George's point, I think some of that, and actually Steve's, some of that is they're not responsible for the components themselves. You're buying the components. I'm buying the control processor and the switcher and stuff like that. And if it doesn't work out of the box, let's say, then you would have to be, contacting whoever you bought it from, whether that's, whether it's Steve and he has a direct relationship with Crestron, or it's me and I have to go back through my integrator. Yeah,
and you're back to the 1,000 phone calls for one product. You're not going to go back to the main guy, right? Yeah. I mean, there is an advantage to the big, all-inclusive ecosystem companies that I get one call. When your iPad doesn't work with the control system, you call the control system company and they go, aha, we're going to help you. It's not our product, but we're going to try our best. Yeah. If that doesn't happen here, then you're really spending more time. If you've got less employees, as Steve said, possibly, you're back to where you could really lose money very quickly if your ratios or your profit lines are very tight.
Yeah, that's something I didn't think about. Absolutely something I didn't think about, because I saw this and I'm going, holy cow, do you know how many hours you just saved me? But I didn't think about the whole troubleshooting end of that. And if something doesn't work, you're right, then you're stuck using up some of those hours you just freed me up on. So,
right. Well, it's like the joke about the waiter with the soup, right? You know that one? Waiter, taste the soup. What's wrong with it, sir? No, waiter, taste the soup. No, what's wrong with it, sir? Just tell me what's wrong. Just taste the soup. Okay, where's the spoon? Aha!
Oh, jeez.
But that's the scenario you get into, right?
You need to get better material.
I'm here all week.
I'm going to buy you a joke book for your birthday. That would be George Tucker. He is from World Stage. Did you guys get a new Facebook page?
Yes. Well, Facebook pushed the timeline on us, and we've been mucking with it.
Okay.
Yes, at World Stage Inc.
There you go.
Facebook.com/World Stage Inc.
And your webpage is what still?
WorldStage.com.
There you go. He is from WorldStage.com. Also, his personal ramblings and wanderings through the world is tucker2s.typepad.com. Did I get that right?
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Nice. You get a gold star on the forehead.
You know what? It only takes me 9 months. So, if you'd like to follow him on Twitter, it is at Tucker2s. Do you have anything to pimp or promote there, sir?
No, that not at the moment, actually. Surprisingly so.
All right. One of George's shows, George does about 15 different shows for the whole AV Nation guys. One of them we'll post this Wednesday, the 18th of April. The April edition of DIY will post.
Thank you for reminding me. I completely forgot that was coming up.
Yes,
and we have 2 next week that we have to record. Oh boy.
Yeah, but those don't post till the following, so don't mention that.
Shh.
Steve, which ones are we doing next week? Social, that's right.
And live.
We're doing live. Oh, geez, I got to check my calendars. Steve Greenblatt is not on live, but if you'd like to be, you can, because apparently I've forgotten. He is the president and founder of Control Concepts, controlconcepts.net. Anything you would like to promote there, sir?
Just looking forward to seeing some of the audience at InfoComm. I'll be there, even though Extron won't be, and have a couple of seminars that I'll be doing, and you can find them just by searching my name on the InfoComm show site. And
which 2 of those? And are those? Is that on Super Tuesday, or you have 2 classes, right?
Yeah, one's on the Thursday that week, and one's on Friday. One has to do with profitability through control system programming, and the other one has to do with energy management with control system programming, shockingly enough.
Very cool. All right, so check that out. If you're going to InfoComm, go check out one of or both of Steve's classes. If you haven't signed up for InfoComm, please do so quickly. It's coming up actually 2 months from this next week. If you'd like to see Extron, go to NAB. So, my name is Tim Albright. If you would like to follow me, Steve's Twitter, if you're interested, is Steve Greenblatt, at Steve Greenblatt. Pretty simple. Mine is at TD Albright, Tim David Albright. But more importantly, go to the website, check out the DIY show that posts this Wednesday, and all of our other stuff, including this show and past episodes of it. You can hear the first time Steve was on, or the first time George was on, for that matter. The website is 0000. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Go to the website ravepubs.com/AVNation. ravepubs.com/AVNation. Thank you so much for listening. That's all the time we have for AV Week.